detective, thrill me.
Thanks for joining us again for another episode. Maddie, Jared, good to have you back in.
Good
Tonight's episode is your pick, isn't it, Maddie?
It is.
It is your pick. It is 1987's Hellraiser. I'm very surprised you brought this up, to be honest, mate. I didn't think this was your sort of bag.
Well, I had very low expectations. I told you if it was a little bit better than Critters, I'd be happy.
Slightly. Well, actually, debatable.
Yeah, question marks on that. But let's do around the table. What have we been watching, Jared?
Right, so I've had quite a bit, so I'll try and keep it as brief as I can. I watched that Evil Genius thing that you talked about on Netflix.
Not a genius, well,
they managed to get away with quite a bit without, but you know, everyone ended up dying or being in prison anyway, so they didn't really.
But the bottom line is,
like bandits.
Some cops were already onto them.
Yeah,
it's just that they couldn't pin it.
It was a tad long.
Yep.
The story was pretty engaging and had enough, but I think once they started to bring the documentary maker in there, inserting himself, I reckon he should have stayed out of it and just run with the story, and too much of her rambling in prison. They established that she was a bit of a lunatic.
Well,
but then
that's the only reason the other bloke got away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
She was crazy.
Exactly. I watched Hereditary.
Yeah?
Can't remember whether I mentioned that. Oh, yeah, I was a big fan. Fan. There's some things in it, like I was just expecting it to be like very sort of subtle and more sort of pondering what's going on, the sort of subtle kind of terror. There's a couple of moments where I just about fucking fell off the couch. I was like, shit, I didn't see that happening.
That car ride to the hospital.
Yeah, the car rides and shit. Oh, man. But, it constantly had me sort of churning the whole way. What's going on? A couple of nice little twists on what's happening. And in the end of it, I thought it was a really nice little tale about, you know, really nice little way to delve into, like, mental illness and grief and that sort of stuff. So, Toni Collette is just... Oh, man, she's a good actress. She's so good. But, the cast all round was pretty good. Gabriel Byrne was kind of really good as just the helpless dad, had no idea how to deal with how everyone else was dealing with their grief. And, it's just a fantastic movie, I thought. I saw Aquaman with Maddie.
Yeah, how was it?
Look, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It is as dumb as a box of hammers, as you like to say. It's but... It dazzled. It was visually quite impressive.
Dazzle me, that'll be enough.
Things didn't go...
How was Dolph, though? Just...
Renaissance. He's ready to rock and roll again. Give him back. Give him a major role. No, it didn't go far enough for me with the kind of like the Shakespearean element, the brothers and Orm's relationship with Aquaman.
He was so one-dimensional.
Yeah.
It was painful.
And it was... I mean, it had some really stupid things happening with that, but I think the bones of that story are just, they're simple, but they're strong enough to kind of make you say, oh, yeah, okay, it was good enough. But yeah, I had fun with it.
Momoa does a good job. He's entertaining enough.
Yeah. It's not the best DC movie. I still think Wonder Woman's the best one. But it was good enough.
It was better than some of the other stuff.
Yeah, much better.
I'd forgotten how annoying I found Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. And Tamara Morrison's de-aged head did not look very good. He was good, but when it was like using the CGI to de-age him a little bit, it was very distracting. It didn't work out so well. I watched the whole season of Castle Rock.
Oh yeah, how was that?
Yeah, really cool. It was a bit unsatisfying towards the end, and it took a long time. Like the season was very slowly working through a limited amount of kind of plot threads, but it's very, very Stephen King-like. You can see that they've taken those elements and dealt with, family and, coming home and small town sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like King, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I just felt like the ending was very open to interpretation, and I felt like maybe just a little bit more giving us what had happened or what is going to happen would have been a little bit better, but... No, I was happy with that all the way through. Venom. I got onto Venom. You got to see it. You have to watch it. Tom Hardy is just giving it everything. Sometimes works a treat. Other times he's blurting some absolutely random lines and just rambling like a maniac. Him and Michelle Williams have the worst on-screen chemistry. They have a pillow fight at the start.
She the love interest.
Yeah, they have this little kind of, not really a pillow fight, but she's leaving and she kind of hits him with a pillow, and it's like Tommy Wiseau in the room when he's fucking throwing footballs.
You sure he's not going, hey, Mark?
It's shocking. It is like, there's some fights in there that are just garbled fucking nonsense because it's Venom and another bloody symbiote. You're just watching like nothing. You can't tell what's going on. But all in all, the movie's entertaining because Hardy is it's a fucking one man wrecking crew.
He's wrecking the movie.
No, it's weird. It's not a good movie, but it is entertaining as hell in its own way. I watched the Fire doco, which we've mentioned. The Netflix Fire doco. That is just unbelievable. I was alternating between laughing my head off and what the hell were these blokes doing?
Yeah.
Like they had no idea what they were doing, and then you get the talking heads that did know what they're doing saying, "Oh, we told them this," and then we got a fucking email back with smiling emojis or whatever. They just didn't listen to. It was a fucking scam.
It was scary to think that the marketing was so good. It pressed so many people into doing this, and they had these villa packages and all this really fancy shit.
But they didn't have
villas.
villas.
They didn't have anything. They had nothing. To me, wouldn't it have been better to just scam these people out of millions and then piss off?
Yeah. I like that they bought the island under the bloody proviso, or rented it, whatever they did, under the proviso that they don't mention
Pablo Escobar's name.
The very first video, Pablo Escobar used to live here, and then the bloke's like, "Get the fuck off," and they relocate to something that looks like a bloody runway strip or something. I don't know what was going on there.
The funniest part is the bloke who was told he would have to blow somebody to get some water out of customs.
Yeah,
had water bottles in massive shipment. He said, "You're going to have to take one for the team, go down and suck this bloke's dick." So he heads down there with every intention of doing so. Thankfully, the customs bloke said, "No, look, we'll release it.
Just pay
us."
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I got through The Punisher season 2 as well.
Yeah, how was that?
Look, it started like a house on fire. There was some excellent episodes early on. One in particular that's basically just like Assault on Precinct 13. And I was loving it, but then they kind of changed tack. At the end of that episode, they bring it back to New York and they get back into the Billy Russo stuff, which is okay in a way because I think Ben Barnes is fantastic, but it just didn't work, and it pushed all these other ones off to the sideline, all these other stories off to the sideline. Definitely suffered from the old Netflix bloat where they just went over the same ground again. Look, if by some miracle this goes on to a third season, I just don't want to see Frank Castle caught by the police again. Like, I just don't need to see that again. We've run that ground. But it's got its merit. Like, John Bernthal is excellent. His relationship with the girl is kind of cool towards the end. Yeah, it's got its merits. It's just too long and confused on where it sort of goes. But yeah, it was all right. I saw Goosebumps 2.
Yeah, how's that? The first Goosebumps was good.
Yeah, it was okay. It was okay. That sort of stuff. Well, that's the interesting part. Essentially, he's not. You can tell, and I found out afterwards. I watched it and I'm like, he mustn't have had availability because he just isn't in it with anyone else. There's one scene basically when he's in it, and when I looked at it, it's basically said that he wasn't able to come back because of scheduling stuff, and then they managed to tie some bits together and whatever, and he shot a couple of days, but it just happens without him. But it's the same old stuff. My kids loved it. For me, it wasn't quite as good. It was more it was a little bit cheaper looking. It was sort of hastily put together in some ways, but it was fun enough. I went back and watched Hook.
Spielberg Peter Pan.
Yeah. Popped up on a streaming service, and my kids were looking for something to watch, and I got a bit overly excited and said, "Let's watch this."
And was it shit?
Because it's okay.
The word is
that
shit.
food scene is.
No, it's not shit, but it's just like it's just Peter Pan basically. There's a few twists on things like the Lost Boys. It's a really good concept that doesn't quite get there, But, you know, the memories that you really sort of enjoyed are still there. Like, the food fight, the fat kid rolling down the ramp and stuff. Yeah, that was all there.
Dustin Hoffman's pretty annoying.
Yeah, he is pretty annoying. What's his name's fantastic? Bloody, Bob Hoskins is brilliant. I watched the Bundy doco on Netflix.
Yeah,
I'm sure you did, Adam.
Yeah, I did.
It was okay. The way they were structuring it early was really good.
Yeah.
It was like filling in the details and then adding some of his audio from the tapes that he'd recorded. But it just leaves too much unsaid. It doesn't go into things. It doesn't go into what happened with his missus. It doesn't go into what other cases that they suspect he might have been connected with. It just leaves too much unanswered for mine.
And it kind of rushes its way home.
Yeah, for something that goes for 4 hours, basically, it doesn't fill in a lot.
Also, for me, when are these guys going to realise that courtroom footage is boring?
Well, you know, his actually wasn't. His wasn't, because he was...
Yeah, he was a bit...
Some in the courtroom, you could see... You can see why the guy had some people convinced that he was innocent.
Exactly. You could see all that, and they needed it. They needed to have it there because it was about all that stuff about him still saying he was innocent, but also then doing these ridiculously silly manoeuvres as his own counsel.
But see, that was interesting. That whole
disgusting bit where he basically had the cop relay everything he saw at one of the death scenes, he was enjoying it.
It was like he was enjoying it. Yeah, look, I actually found that interesting for that exact reason.
Oh yeah, I found it interesting, but just like Making a Murderer, that shit, it did grind things a little bit for me. I was just
for me, that was some of the best parts, because you were seeing him in his element. You're seeing him, you're seeing him fighting with his counsel, and you're seeing all that stuff firsthand. The other fascinating thing for me, which wasn't quite explored, was they needed more emphasis on how different it was without the DNA and without the news going around the country, because they had the part where he's fucking all over the news in Colorado or Aspen or wherever. He breaks out twice. Then he goes to Florida and he's on the news in Florida. This man is unnamed and won't give his name.
No one knew.
No one knew. And I was like, it's so hard to imagine that now.
Yeah.
That this guy did this in Colorado. His face would have been seen around the world now.
Yeah.
Whereas that time, he's driven across the country. No one had a fucking clue who he was. But yeah, it just didn't feel in enough for me.
My thing about it was, I enjoyed it to a degree. I thought it was interesting, the juxtaposition of him sort of talking about how he was innocent and, and telling the story from his side, and then everyone else is going, the guy was a fucking idiot. And I think it debunked a few things about him. He was super smart. No, he wasn't.
Really, yeah.
He was 28 years old, he was a law student.
Yeah.
He was hardly Mr. Bloody Brains.
He was quite charismatic.
Yeah.
He had that going for him. But quite honestly, the cops got lucky. They wouldn't have got him either time except for traffic stops.
Yeah.
And him driving erratically.
Yeah.
Like, if he had just been driving normally...
I think he would have got caught anyway, because he was starting to lose his shit.
Well, eventually, yes.
But he could have had another 20 bodies under his belt.
Both times it's traffic stop. Like, can you imagine if it wasn't? Like, or if the cop had stopped him and just for whatever reason
let him go.
Turn your lights on, off you go, and hadn't found the fucking kit in the car. Like, crazy.
But also, the thing for me is, honestly, I watched a lot of this stuff. The guy was a fucking subhuman, mate. I mean, the fact that... I personally think the electric chair was too good for him.
Yeah.
Honestly, he was a fucking absolute piece of shit.
The guy at the end summed it up when he said, I was fucking ecstatic when he was dead, and I hope I never feel that sort of joy over another human's death ever again.
He was an absolute piece of garbage.
Yeah.
Worst of the worst, I reckon. But I enjoyed it for what it was, but it certainly wasn't a classic piece of doco filmmaking.
And the last ones I got completely the other end of the spectrum. I watched a couple more of the DC animated movies. I watched Death of Superman and The Reign of the Superman, which were sort of back to back. They ran on from each other.
Yeah,
bloody good, really good. I mean, especially because they share elements with Batman vs Superman, and you're like, this little cheap animated picture told it better than Batman and Superman. But yeah, that was it for me.
Okay, Matty?
I watched SBS on SBS Counterpoint. Which,
Oh, is that with J.K. Simmons?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So loved it. I thought it was really, really good. It was solid. I watched the whole thing in a few days. Yeah, so it's basically like the same world. They found like a wormhole or some sort of way a tunnel to get between, and they've just diverged slightly. So it's got a bit of divergent about it.
Yeah.
But, so one world's had a virus that's knocked out 7% of the population. So the fate of some of the people has changed. Yeah, and this is like espionage between the two worlds and trying to negotiate that with people meeting their equivalent other.
Oh, okay.
So the main characters in one world is the loving, supporting husband, and then the other world is just a dirtbag undercover operative that's sort of just working for the government. So it's that was solid. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
can't wait for more of it. I haven't watched a lot. Moving house, you know what happens.
Yeah.
The and then the mother-in-law's been around, so that led to a few less entertaining things being on the television.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Married at First Sight.
I'll still never get sick of people being surprised that the other person is not completely and utterly devoted to them in Love at First Sight.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why they cry in that first week.
such a shock.
Or when you get blokes there going, I am a solid 12 out of 10. These sorts of dickheads.
I just love that they're like they market it as Love at First Sight, but really it's let's get two nutbags together and
totally.
And let's see the fireworks.
Exactly.
But so a bit of that. I saw Glass, yeah. Which I went in very, very low expectations, and they were pretty much meh. There was some good bits in it, but I figured most of the aha moments in there were sort of not much bang for your buck. I don't know, are we allowed to do spoilers here or?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
let's not
spoil
Just hold off till next one.
Let's just leave that one.
I saw it as well, mate, and my problem with it is the ideas were good. Like, I understood what he was trying to do, but he botched it.
Some good parts.
There's a whole middle. The whole middle section's just
unsatisfying.
To me, you didn't get the two together. This is what you should have been doing. Is put the hero against the villain.
But in saying that, some entertainment in there throughout it.
I mean, I hated it, honestly. Honestly, I thought it was crap. But
excellent, can't wait.
I got what he was trying to do, but I think you might have summed it up that everyone thought he had a roadmap, but he lost the map.
Yeah,
he never really had it.
Well, it seems like some people have said basically it seemed like Split was calculated, whereas it might have been just this will be cool.
Yeah, I think it was.
The pressure's on for a sequel.
The one thing that I can take
you
out.
Said trilogy. You said trilogy, right? I said trilogy.
I said trilogy. I can make 10 if you want.
The one thing I can take out of it is Unbreakable does not require having to watch the other two. So Unbreakable's still a great movie on its own.
Well, that's the thing. They always talk about whether it tarnishes the others, and I mean, you can never not think about what happens with a character, but when you get a great movie, you can watch it. I mean,
and thankfully that's not.
I still absolutely love that Shyamalan's superheroes are still fallible. They're not indestructible. They're not. Yeah. They're not completely impervious to attack, and they've got their own personal problems as well. So I find that probably a bit.
Look, he minds interesting ideas with that stuff, and the idea of them being together in a hospital, kind of had some legs for me. It seemed like an interesting way to go, but it just didn't work, which is disappointing. But I think the writing was always. We were super pumped. But I think
they wasted some
as soon as the reviews came out, I think I immediately started going, oh shit. This is like fucking The Predator. Yeah. When The Predator came out, the reviews came out, we were all like, oh, hopefully just the critics don't like it. Yeah,
I still remember the first review I read of The Predator. It was like a 3.5 out of 5 and said it's an absolute blast. I'm sitting there going, yes! And then each further review that came out, I'm thinking, oh shit.
Anything else, Matty?
No, very shallow. The other ones we've covered pretty much. So,
all right,
that I can think of anyway.
I saw Glass. I saw Ted Bundy. I saw The Mule. with Clint Eastwood.
I'm keen for that.
How's Clint? Cranky?
He's still got it,
Yeah.
but he looks like a fucking roast chicken. He takes his shirt off at one point. It's like, Jesus,
Hello.
Clint,
Yeah.
let's put that.
He looks like the roast chicken that's been left till the end of the day too.
He looks the way that he did in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly when he'd been in the desert for a couple of days.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to kick the shit out of him, but he looks like a corpse. He does.
He's close. Poor bloke.
He looks like a corpse.
He's had a good life.
But it's not a bad movie. It's a nice little drama. It's got a touch of that Gran Torino about it.
I love that look he gets on his face too, where he's kind of grunting. It looks like he's squeezing whatever life he's got left out his backside.
But yeah, it's not too bad. Nice little drama. He does it. He does well. You know, he does well. It's a role that, thankfully, you know, he picks an age appropriate role. Although he does seem to have sexual relations with a couple of chicks at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, it wasn't too bad.
The mind is willing.
The flesh is weak, though, very weak. We sat down my daughter and my wife and watched You on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
I started
it was
that, actually.
all right. It was interesting. Like it's an interesting take on it.
I did not like the first episode.
And the bloke playing the bad guy actually has a nice mix of charm and, you know, that crazy sort of
It's got a bit of Dexter about
way he goes
how it's
about it.
set up, right?
But I also felt it kind of, because of the way it was told, it took out any real suspense or anything like that from the whole
It's just
thing.
smug.
So you're kind of sitting there going, well, obviously I can see what's happening here.
I found that first episode where he's just smug because he's like, everything just fell into my lap and it's just so convenient.
And also I had question marks on why he was actually interested in the girl he was interested in. But, you know, like, because I guess they were trying to also show that she was she wasn't like squeaky clean.
Yeah.
She wasn't squeaky clean either. But it was okay. I watched The Disaster Artist.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Just that shit where every 5 seconds they keep asking him, how old are you? I am his age. Like, no, you're not.
I still laugh about his toilet, him needing the toilet.
Yeah.
The best bit of the movie is when he can't get the line right up on the roof.
Yeah. 200 takes.
Who are you talking to? You're talking to the bloody camera.
Doggy. Hey, doggy.
Hey, doggy.
He keeps walking in and going, line? what is the
They're throwing a
line?
frisbee in the park at one point, is that? Or baseball?
Football.
Yeah, football.
Yeah.
So good.
It's piss funny at times.
He's
it actually has a little bit of heart,
nailed.
though.
Well,
It actually has a little bit of
Yeah,
heart.
it
Like, it
has
actually
other
has
heart.
a nice sort of story to it.
Like they trumped up because I read the book too, and some of the things they took straight out of the book.
Yeah.
Other ones they kind of just moulded them a little to make it a bloody feel good.
Yeah.
Like it was. Yeah.
And the blokes that made it, you know, they're sitting around laughing about this,
Oh.
just going, we have to do this.
Yeah, for
It was
sure.
such a passion
I
project.
also was a big fan of the Zac Efron cameo where he was the crazed bloke on the roof with the gun.
Yeah,
and he's
that's
walking
right.
around punching walls and going, come on, motherfucker, just out of nowhere. And then Tommy's there going, you a monster. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I love that.
And I also love the fact that they showed the actual scenes from the movie side by side, the versions that
Yeah.
they shot. And they were spot on. They were absolutely spot on.
The mystery around where he got his money from is still up.
Yeah, I reckon he poured $6 million into that.
Yeah.
And that's bloody outrageous.
Yeah, well, again, in the book, they go through it all the time, and he's constantly fucking secretive about where his buddy is, but then he's taking him to. He's saying, I got into fashion or some shit like that. Then he's talking about how he sells leather jackets.
And the sex scene where he's walking around with just a little cocksock on, going, they need to see my ass to sell the film. He's humping the air or something like that. Bloody good fun. And that was it for me. Alright, let's take a break. Here's the trailer to 1987's Hellraiser.
Somewhere beyond the light and the dark, beyond our secret desires and deepest fears, lies the door beyond all our limits. We have Rated R.
Hellraiser from 1987, written and directed by Clive Barker, who directed Nightbreed, and it's based on his novel The Hellbound Heart. And it was produced by Christopher Figg, who did Dog Soldiers and Mandy. It stars Andrew Robinson as Larry, Claire Higgins as Julia, Ashley Lawrence as Kirsty, and Doug Bradley as Pinhead. The budget was $1 million, and the box office was $14 million. Now, the film was originally set in England, but the studio, New World, thought the film would be more marketable if it was set in America. So many of the English actors were dubbed as Americans. Right. Okay, Matty, your pick. Give it to us, mate.
It's got some good bits in it, but it definitely has that 80s vibe of a very simple horror flick. Very basic premise. Yeah, I don't know. I like the Cenobites. I like them a lot. They were entertaining. The characters were pretty weak, but they were entertaining enough. 2.5.
Yeah.
The story was a lot simpler than I remember. Like, the story is really straightforward, but I think the strength of it is you just sit there thinking, what's Barker getting at? What's all this about? And like, the readings of it are extremely varied and kind of interesting to dig into. And the Xenobites are really interesting creations, I guess. So between them and the kind of gore that they go for, and it's strong enough to...
Some good imagery in there.
Yeah, some really good imagery, and you can see why it's still relevant in its own way. So, I reckon a 3.
I thought the whole thing would be about Pinhead, because I knew nothing about it, didn't know any of the history.
Well,
I believe we were supposed to refer to him as the Hell Priest.
Yeah, the Hell Priest, or the priest.
Apparently Clive Barker wrote a sequel where Pinhead gets insulted because someone calls him Pinhead.
Really?
Yeah. Because he'd always referred to him in the book as Hell Priest, and apparently it was like an effects guy that started calling him Pinhead, and then that didn't get sort of assumed into the canon until about the 3rd film.
Yeah.
But people had started referring to it by Pinhead by that stage, so he's kind of just the spokesman in a way.
I agree with both of you. I think it's got really interesting visuals. The plot is simple, and I actually think it has a bit of subtext about abusive relationships, which I think works really well.
So that's interesting because, as I said, it can be interpreted so many ways. I kind of went with, Clive Barker being gay at that sort of stage, the 80s. I actually kind of got a bit of the AIDS vibe to it.
Yeah.
Bit of the love story,
maybe.
The AIDS thing about the pleasure and pain, and how, searching for that ultimate pleasure can end up destroying you and all this sort of...
Well, I guess that's another way of looking at it. I got abusive relationships because she would do absolutely anything.
Yeah.
Including killing people.
And he was quite abusive in their interactions as well.
Yeah, and he was kind of intimidating her and things like that. It's obviously made for bloody, a couple of packets of cigarettes, a case of beer, a
couple of cans of Coke.
Yeah. And the acting's shit ass. But it actually holds up okay. And quite frankly, I think the FX are still really good.
Yeah, for the most part.
It didn't drag its feet like some of the horrors of the day.
No, except except when you can see the bloody trolley that the engineer things.
Yeah, rolled off. That was a slight mistake. But I give it 3 out of 5 as well.
Yeah.
All right, the likes. As I said before, for me, the strength of the plot was this idea of the abusive relationship and almost like a love triangle. Here's Julia and her husband Larry, and then there's Frank. And it's part of the package, but he's gone with the box and pretty much died.
Yeah.
And is now brought back, and it's kind of a weird love triangle.
Yeah.
It's certainly not what you would have expected, and I think it works on those terms.
Yeah.
As I said, she does pretty much anything for the bloke. I mean, I don't know about you. When he crawls out of the fucking darkness, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the end of that.
Yeah. I'm not hanging around to hear what you say. I'm fucking out the door.
Hang on a second. All right, I'll listen to you.
That scene where he's like trying to touch her and he hasn't got his skin yet.
Yeah. I'll be running downstairs going, "There's a talking pile of dog shit upstairs."
He looked like he'd been slimed. That's not time to go in for a hug.
There's a pile of God knows what up in the bloody in this bare room. It asked me. It told me it was Frank. It couldn't be.
Yeah, that was actually where the effects were probably most impressive, where he's coming back together.
Yeah,
That looks fucking excellent.
Yeah.
Still.
yeah. The way they sort of layer it, you know.
Yeah, and you can see
Each different layer.
with the skull they melted something and then played the film backwards to show it all coming back together.
Yeah.
Then they cut it in with the shot of him like getting into almost like put their arms sort of working into push-up position.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It looked awesome.
Kind of looked like a spider at some point,
Yeah.
coming out of the floor.
Yeah.
It opens with a nasty little sequence of him opening the basically the bloody hell Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
No, he's a
And what do they
dirtbag
call it?
straight away because he's got dirty
The
fingernails.
Lamentation
Configuration or
configuration
something,
or something.
Yeah, he's got dirty fingernails. You know
Yeah.
straight away he's a dirty.
Yeah, scumbag.
Typical scumbag. And cut your nails, you silly bastard.
Although it was good to see that while he was, engaged in that scumbaggery and, taking photos of himself having sex, he did it all fully clothed. So we
Yeah.
could all have a look at it.
Yeah, keep your top on. It's okay. So I like that sequence of the box comes alive, and then you have that bit where that's where the imagery's at its best.
Yeah.
Just all those boxes hanging around with flesh and shit hanging off them, and chains everywhere, and the blue lighting through the slats, and then you see the Cenobites kind of walking amongst them.
Yeah, the lighting was awesome.
Like
in
that stuff is just
especially
great.
at the end in that last scene when the Cenobites come back.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah,
like that they, when the Cenobites are doing all that shit and he's getting like pulled apart and stuff like that, that they actually do keep it to things like chains and binding and shit that some people actually do for pleasure, but they just take it up a notch to obviously fucking ripping him apart.
They turn him into the strong man from Big Trouble in Little China, ripping his face apart.
Oh shit!
The sequence where he does get reborn is very impressive. Like I think it's a really, really good piece of work.
Yep.
And they shoot it really well too, so it doesn't look kind of fake. And the lighting and everything's spot on.
Yeah.
They
I actually
do a really
thought
good job.
Barker is clearly a bloody jack of all trades. He's a writer, a bloody artist, and
Yeah.
I actually thought he did quite well with some of the directing
Yeah.
parts. Portions of it drag a little bit, and I think maybe he could have worked on that, but some of his sequences work out really well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a good visual eye and a nice palette
Yeah.
for what he wants, and he knows what he wants. Like he's written the
And it's
script
not
based
Rawhead
on the
Rex.
book. Yes.
That's not what he wants.
Well, he's still asking questions about who put that together. I think.
I like the when the daughter is selling out her uncle to the Cenobites.
Yeah.
That's one of my favourite scenes in the whole thing. Because she's like, wait a minute, and they're like, wait a minute, what about this guy? Is this his name? And then they're like, wait a minute, yes.
They talk about it's like something out of a spoof. They're like, she's like, he escaped, and they're like, so what if he did? Except with the heavy voice.
Yeah, and they're
Except
trying
to do
they're
things
telling her
easier.
they're going to rip her to shreds.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but
She's
what
just
about
had
old
this-
Frank?
She's had the goat face chattering at her.
Yeah.
That would scare the shit out of me. And then it's like, wait a minute. She's like,
And the female
thinking quick
Cenobite
on her
with her
feet.
throat ripped kind of open across there,
Yeah,
the female
yeah.
Cenobite, and she talks in that husky sort of voice.
I believe she is commonly referred to as vagina neck or something like that.
Clever. See what they did there.
Just keep making sure that the subtext about sex is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
missed anywhere along the line.
Look, I initially didn't get it. Thanks for clearing it up. There's that sequence where she first sees Frank and he comes crawling out of the darkness at speed. Honestly, I'm about to put me stride. I was thinking, holy shit, where'd that come from?
Yeah. It doesn't matter what I hear coming from that room. I'm not staying there. Once I've seen that.
Yeah, look.
There's some creepy stuff going on in that room. Those rats that were pinned up to the wall.
Yeah, I know.
Like the sounds coming from that room. It's probably just rats, and then you see them pinned on the wall.
Nailed
so
it.
good.
Quite a fucking large rat. I
and
think it's a possum now. It's too big to be a rat.
no, sorry, not a possum, a human. Like a fucking stuffed up human. She really does take the hammer. I do like the idea of taking the hammer to those blokes. Like,
Yeah.
it's a nasty little tool, the old hammer, and she wails it across one bloke's face and basically belts
his
off.
face and
It's all bust up his teeth and everything.
Yeah, that scene was excellent.
Yeah.
Even, just prior to that too, I like the way that the flashback played out.
Yeah.
Like, she's kind of standing there, and it plays out amongst all the shit going on. The people moving into the house.
Yeah.
So you get all this backstory and what's going on in the one hit. The acting's a little bit suspect amongst, in the backstory and that sort of thing. That'll be mentioned later on. But yeah, going into that scene, the scene where she first kills the guy, I bloody loved that one.
Yeah.
I thought that was excellent because he just goes to these great lengths to show that it seems really deliberate that this guy is just
Pure scumbaggery as
pure
well.
scumbag, very ordinary. Like he's laying it on, but he's sounding very kind of unattractive.
And then he immediately starts up the whole, once she sort of says, I don't know.
Yeah, but then, when he gets there, he drops the tweeds and he's wearing the baggy old tidy whities, and then he starts whispering sweet nothings and then goes, "Oh, I've got to go empty the bladder," or something like that. And they make it kind of great pains to her, going through with this encounter, but how none of that can measure up to what Frank is supposed to be, what she was chasing when that shit happened.
But also, to counter too for me, is that she doesn't really want to do this. She doesn't actually want to do it, but she'll do whatever she needs to do to bring Frank back.
Yeah, but see, that was the thing. She didn't...
Because she kind of goes...
She had to be sort of... Frank had to talk her around a little bit too. Like, it was kind of like... There was part of her that probably could have been... if it was an attractive bloke or whatever, she might have had second thoughts. But then when you get in there, you're just with an absolute fucking bozo.
Yeah.
So he didn't pick out the best jocks in the drawer this morning. Then he starts blubbering about how he's going to take a piss just after he's told you how you're the most beautiful woman or whatever. And so it kind of just highlights that, I need that, what I had,
Yeah.
She's the one looking for that ultimate pleasure now, too. Like,
And she'll put herself through anything.
on a side note, speaking of ultimate pleasure, one of the funniest things I read about one of the little tidbits about the movie was that they barely censored any of the gore, but they came back with during the sex scene, only 2 thrusts. Anything more than two or three thrusts would be crude.
So we can show
maggots and all sorts of shit.
we can show a bloke who looks like a fucking hamburger meat, a large slab of hamburger meat, but we can't have more than 2 thrusts, or we're considered,
Smut.
I really like the scene where she finally consents to having sex with Larry. Larry's been batting 0 the whole time.
Oh, he's excited.
And he finally gets the chance.
Excited.
And Frank comes out of the closet behind her.
Yeah.
With the flick knife.
Yeah.
And you're kind of thinking, he's the next victim.
Yeah.
He's the one that's going to bring Frank back in full. And that kind of ends up happening.
She doesn't want to hurt him,
but there it kind of creates a little bit of a tense moment.
A little bit of doubt.
Yeah. Because she says, no, I can't do it. So
there's no doubt at all that she's the evil stepmother. She's one of the frostiest men. Before she even did anything frosty, I was like, she's a
not with Frank, she wasn't. Not with Frank.
That dinner party, there's that dude's like trying to pick up the daughter, the stepdaughter, and she's just like off with the fairies.
No, my personal favourite was
Frank certainly fucking thought her out. No worries. She was a frosty bit of work.
My personal favourite bit with the daughter is when she comes home to see Larry, and the moving men are there. and they just put on an absolute fucking show, don't they?
Yeah.
With the whole, oh, is that your daughter? Or is that your wife, does he say?
Yeah.
And he's like, my wife's dead.
Yeah, she
Oh.
looks like your wife. She looks like her mother or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
mother's
bloke's
dead.
like, it's just.
Mate, those blokes have their own special section in this likes to me. They are.
I'm assuming it's acting
They're
related.
coming in for some treatment for sure.
When they move into the house as well, he's like showing her around, talking about the potential, and he's like, "We can be happy here," and then instantly just goes, "Oh Christ, shit!" Like he knows that he can't make her happy. He knows, but he's trying anyway. He tries everything he can. The conversations he has with his daughter are like, "Come on, you just got to put up with her." And it's like they know that their
it'll be
relationship
fine.
is.
Yeah.
They know their
Yeah,
relationship.
he's saying to her, look, she can't be any colder to you than she is to me. Let's work at this. Come on.
I actually think, I really like that scene where Frank comes out of the closet and she decides not to have Larry killed, but then eventually she just essentially feeds him to her.
Yeah.
And then the counter to that is once Frank is back to his proper self,
Yeah.
he pretty much kills her without batting an eyelid. You know?
Yeah.
He stabs her in the guts and then just chucks her on the ground.
Yeah.
It's just a throwaway, you know.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
really need you in the end of the day, and I thought that stuff was really interesting because again, coming back to this whole idea of abusive relationship between the two of them, and how a lot of these things kind of fell into all that for me. Like that's how I sort of saw it.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting part about the plot is that Barker's challenging you to look at it a little bit
Yeah, and I
from
think that's,
different angles.
I mean, that's why it's lasted
Yeah.
as long as it has, I think, is because it's. I mean, I would watch it again and see. I mean, I think this is the third or fourth time I've seen it, and I'm not a big Hellraiser fan at all. But I would watch it again just to see if I got the same sort of thing.
Certainly when Alan Smithy starts directing it, by about
shit.
part 6.
I cannot wait to get to the Alan Smithy entries and the ones that were shot in 3 weeks and all that sort of business. Like,
Immediate entries.
the good ones, yeah. I actually really like to. It doesn't play out for the whole way, but aside from the dialogue that made Pinhead look like he was some ham-fisted bozo that he looked like one of the crew out of Pain and Gain or something like that. I liked it, the whole thing about how that they don't just kill her, even though they're saying we've got things in store for you and all this sort of stuff. I like that they don't kill her, and it kind of it goes along with the subtext about relationships and stuff that you make choices to get into these things and how it can affect it. It was good that they didn't just fucking rip everyone apart that they saw.
Yeah.
Down the stretch, it was heading that direction, but I did like that there was that kind of moment of you didn't choose this, so if you give us the guy that did, we'll tear him apart instead.
And they certainly tear him apart. Shit.
Yeah.
That last sequence
Indeed.
is quite nasty.
Yes.
He's got bloody hooks in every orifice and he's just getting pulled from bloody literally arsehole to breakfast time.
Well, what a dirtbag.
Yeah. It was kind of like the comeuppance he deserved.
Yeah.
Like, that was the great thing about it. And I actually kind of like the ending. It just slips back around to What's Your Pleasure, the box.
Yeah, I didn't mind that, although I didn't quite get
The
what
homeless
Hobo
man?
Jesus was on about.
Yeah.
Turning into a bloody dragon. It was seen to be fucking Satan. I didn't get that.
Look.
I didn't know why he was eating bugs either.
Yeah, that was weird shit. It was, again, it brought a strange sort of vibe to it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that means something. I don't get it. Maybe I need the explanation. That's you said.
Mate, look, it's above us. It's above our pay grade, I would suggest. Any more likes, people?
Oh, come on, the fact that Aphex Twin took the reference and come to daddy. That was a throwback to watching Rage back in the day.
Oh man.
Do not
Aphex
mention
Twin.
Aphex Twin to
Every
me.
time I've seen that bloke on screen, I've had fucking nightmares.
I woke up from a hard night in the piss and went straight into bloody window liquor.
Window Licker's the best.
I couldn't get back to sleep.
Yeah,
hell.
I think, was it the same film clip where the little dude jumps out of the limo and
Yeah,
starts
it
dancing
starts like
and
Michael
then
Jackson.
all the girls turn into the Aphex Twin?
That's what happens in every
Fuck.
single one of them. They,
Mother of
all the film clips, they all turn into the...
Yeah, dude. What are you on? What are you actually on?
Yeah,
That was a big like.
bad times.
little daddy. It's such a creepy thing to say.
Yeah. That was kind of very creepy. Anything else there, Matty?
No, it's a lot there. That was pretty good.
Okay. Dislikes.
I'll think about them later, I'm sure.
Any visual effects? Was certainly straining the budget past its requirements.
Yeah.
When the box closed up and that little blue stuff comes out of it.
Yeah, the little lightning.
When they killed all the... Or they put
Just
all the
have the
Cenobites
sound
back
effect.
in.
That's enough.
Yeah, a bit of steam.
And then they just disappear. Yeah, they just disappear. But yeah, some of the stuff, or when the Cenobites are being put back in the box, or just
a corpse breathing its last breath. You could do anything there, and it would have been better than that.
Yeah, because the practicals hold up so well for the time and the budget. Like to think it was 87 $1 million budget, and you managed to get it looking like it did with the practical stuff. It almost
at least it
kind of sucks when you see those little lightning effects.
At least they didn't overdo it.
Yeah. It wasn't
Highlander. Highlander.
The acting is pretty shit ass across the board. Nobody stands out. Even Pinhead at times. He's spouting that dialogue, and he has kind of that cool, that regal sort of English voice.
Yep.
Saying, but it's in a slightly lower register. But some of the stuff he's dribbling at times, it's like, it's not a great performance of any kind.
Julia is not. I don't think she was very good. Frank in the flashbacks. Jesus Christ.
I thought Kirsty was alright.
Kirsty was probably the best.
She was okay.
I didn't have any problems with her.
And her dad, although I didn't think it was a great acting performance, he did kind of give you this the whole time you're looking at him, you go, "You poor bastard."
Yeah. You got no idea what's going on.
Definitely felt sympathy for him. He did Clueless so well.
Yeah, that was part of it because he was, everyone else is really laying it on a bit thick, and he was too. But he was the one I was looking at, going, "Yeah, you got exactly what you were going for." Like, they'd be talking, she'd be going up to the attic and doing all this shit, and he'd just be sitting there going, "Hey, honey, what's going on?" He's just like an absolute bozo, So, but yeah, you do really feel for him when she's in the bedroom and Frank's behind her, she's saying no, and he's like, "What do you want?"
He's basically pleading. Frank is a real piece of shit. I mean, not only is he a shithouse actor, for starters, he's banging his brother's wife, and also he pretty much shows off his nutsack to the unsuspecting audience at one point. I mean, I don't need that. I don't know about you guys. I don't think it added anything.
I couldn't tell because it looked like a couple of fried nuts. So it was just.
I thought it was pretty funny that he's pretty much come back from the dead, and the first action is to have a cigarette. He's like, breathes it in, and then try to kill yourself again, man.
Apparently that was unscripted. It was just that he used to do that between takes. And Clive Barker saw him and thought,
that's interesting.
That's probably what you'd do if you'd been in hell for fucking 6 months or whatever he was.
But is that also like the whole
How long?
thing he's been through all the pain that he enjoys in that sexual relationship.
And how long was he in hell, are we thinking?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was mentioned, but I just glossed over it. Once I saw the look of him, I thought, fuck, it doesn't matter.
Less than the lifespan of
Less
than the lifespan of Kirsty, because she knew who he was and she knew he was a dirtbag.
Yeah.
So he'd be saying 5 years-ish.
I cannot look. I know that Larry was clueless, but I cannot believe he had accidentally walked into the spare room and gone, "Oh shit, Frank's on the boy."
Like, how long has he been just cruising around the house and not bothered to fucking go into that room?
It's a dusty old house.
What is it, a fucking 40-bedroom mansion or something? You have to see to have walked into that room.
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, "Look, shit, Julia, I've got things to store away. I've got boxes that need to go somewhere.
Just not in there."
I've just moved. You do it room at a time. He hasn't gotten to that room yet. That his decomposing brother is becoming reanimated.
Yeah, it hasn't quite got there. But yeah, imagine that if he hadn't have died, he's telling the clueless cops, "Look, I never got to that room, mate. I didn't know he was in there." No idea.
Speaking of moving, those two blokes are just Speaking, they're almost if they'd have been in the movies longer, they would have been challenging Frank for the biggest fucking scumbags in the movie because they're bloody leching over her in front of her husband.
Yeah, that's right.
They're sitting there like going, oh yeah,
You got any beer? Doesn't he say?
yeah. And then the husband again, oh Jesus, I'll go get it or whatever he fucking says. But yeah, then the daughter comes in and they're basically saying, let's just drop the mattress here and let's do it. Like,
Yeah, I'll put this down.
absolute scum.
Oh,
Absolute
mate,
scum.
speaking of scum, look, if I've been picked up for a one-night stand, she takes me home into a darkened room with no furniture and quite frankly looks fucking nasty. It doesn't even have a bloody... It doesn't have a mattress on the ground, and then it says, "Look, it's time for a bit of action on the floorboards." I'm calling it a night.
Mate, the second she opens the door and I get the smell of rotting flesh in my nose, I'm there going, "Oh shit! Would you look at the time?" I was like, "Get me out of here!"
Come on, I'm going at least going into the room to see what it was, just in case it's nothing.
Oh, just in case it's another game of bloody sneaky poo with Robin Englund.
When she says to me,
"Oh, you've hidden two shit actors in here. That's why it smells so bad."
when she says to me we should do it on the ground, I think I'm going, nah, that's not really going to work.
Because you at least lay a bloody napkin down or something.
You got a small bath robe or something easy. Shit. Yeah, look, I'm calling it night. Look. Is that the time, mate? I got an early meeting to get to. She also seems to have no problems picking up luxurious Johns across the face.
Yeah, but look, that's probably the most realistic thing about the movie.
What's the time frame too? Is this a couple of nights?
A couple of days by the looks of it. Couple of weeks tops.
And so Larry has not... Where is Larry while all this is going on?
Oh,
What?
he's just being fucking trodden all over, mate.
At the bar trying.
Yeah, he's at the bar going, come on, take me home for one.
Yeah, yes, I'm over here. Were we role playing tonight?
One of the funniest bits in the movie for me, when she's going through the flashbacks and it starts to go to those, it goes into the crude thrusting motions and things like that.
It was more than two thrusts in that, I'm telling you now.
You can tell that they had, I think you can tell that, now with that knowledge, you look at it and it's like, yeah, they definitely had to kind of mix things up a bit here because you see them going at it and then it quickly cuts away to Alan for a very unsubtle, oh, come on, give it a push, I pull, all this sort of stuff. They're pushing the mattress upstairs, and then they're giving it the mattress, and he's there going, it's ridiculous. I actually rewound it. Fuck, I was laughing my head off. It was so funny.
I wrote in the notes, there's a section where they've got like a close-up of a nail while she's getting nailed.
Yeah, well that was it. That was exactly the same section. The nail's there on his hand, he's there going, go on, give it a push. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, subtext.
That dash was so over the top.
Yeah, very light on the subtext. So, again,
yeah.
thanks for
unpacking
that with me.
My last thing was, I'm not sure what that fucking creature was chasing through the corridors in the hospital, but it was pretty unconvincing. The head down the bottom just going flopping around.
Yeah. Well, that was the one where you saw the trolley too, and you could see it only had a couple of motions. It was just going up and down and up and down.
And teeth were going.
Also, the Xenobite with the glasses.
The fat fella.
Yeah,
Butterball.
He brings the kind of menace down a little bit.
Yeah, licking his lips.
Because you got the bloody chatterer that's there going, and then you got, the lady with all that shit.
Vagina throat.
Pinhead, of course, and then you got Butterball standing there looking like looking like the red-headed stepson of the group.
He looks like he was in the June set.
Unless there's like some connection to like the 7 deadly sins or something there.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm not fully over what they were all kind of inspired by, but yeah, he just didn't. He didn't kind of scare me as much as the other ones.
Yeah.
No.
By the 7th chin, you'd be done.
Yeah, like he was. Look, he'd been eating a few pies.
If you're Christy, you should probably call before you come over.
Yeah. Okay, is Uncle Frank there? Okay, so he's what, in stage 4 upstairs? Look, I won't come round tonight.
She doesn't like you as it is. Just give her a call.
Yeah. And also, getting back to Frank being a scumbag, the insinuation, right, is that he would have been looking to sleep with her before he was bloody torn apart, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so,
That
yeah.
is just seedy shit.
Yeah.
Lay another bloody hook into the bloke.
Yeah, right up the middle, mate, I think. Right up the tape.
Yeah, get one right in the undercarriage and bloody we won't have to worry about that sort of nonsense again from Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank.
Yeah, look, she calls ahead. Look, we recently found Uncle Frank up in the guest bedroom. Oh, okay, well, I won't be coming tonight. I'll see clear of the bloke.
Yeah, he's looking a bit worse.
Look, at the moment, he's crawling. He's yet to get to his feet, so he should be all right.
Dirty fingernails are the least of his worries.
All right, have we got any other dislikes?
No, that was it for me.
No. All right, that is Hellraiser. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podomatic. If you want to send us an email, contact us at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com, and on Instagram at thrillmepodcastau. Our next episode, this is my pick, so if anyone wants to know why we covered this,
Shame.
it is Ballistic. X versus Sever. So according to Rotten Tomatoes, is the worst movie ever reviewed. It's got 116 reviews and currently sits at a big fat 0. It's laid an egg, mate. So that's our next week's episode, but until then, take it easy and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.